Hello and welcome to episode 139 of the Heart of Markness Led Zeppelin podcast. And it is a somber day, he says in an upbeat voice, because we lost Richard Cole, the road manager for Led Zeppelin, who made it through 1968 through Nebworth as their guy. He was their logistics guy. He took care of them. He took them from show to show in the early days. He drove the Lincoln convertible in the winter from Colorado to Seattle to Portland down to California. And excuse me. Of course, as soon as I turn the mic on, I get a tickle in my throat. And yeah, I got online this morning as soon as I got to work. And saw that he had passed. And that's really unfortunate. He's been a source of a lot of information. He kind of broke the seal on the Zeppelin mystique when Stephen Davis wrote and published Hammer of the Gods back in 1985. He was a primary source. During that time, he was suffering from a lot of the same substance abuse issues that rockers were suffering from. And it had been alleged that, he made up some of the stories for a paycheck. And that was alleged by the band. However, there's been multiple alternative sources that corroborate a lot of what was going on. And yes, lo and behold, Led Zeppelin were not always Titanic gods striding in perfect harmony. They were occasionally fucked up rock stars who did fucked up shit. In other words, they were human. And I never met Richard Cole. I mean, why would I? I've never contacted him. I kind of, in the back of my mind, had always wanted the same thing as with, poor Andy Adams when he passed. Something that is always on my list of man, I'd love to talk to Andy. And I had talked to him now and again as a source for, first person stuff from Jimmy in the 80s with Roy Harper. But Richard was someone I'd always kind of wanted to, but felt intimidated. It's kind of the story of my life. Not taking the leap when the opportunity presents itself. But now that opportunity is gone, and I understand from what Dave Lewis wrote that Richard had been doing poorly, but it was still a surprise. And that although with Zeppelin he was notoriously ruthless, in the latter days when, there's cocaine, there's heroin, and Led Zeppelin itself became kind of notoriously ruthless. He was known for delivering devastating kicks when necessary. And I can't remember, but I think he may have been involved with the altercation at the Oakland show in 1977 where somebody messed with Peter Grant's kid and then Bonzo, and I think Richard, but I don't know, it might have been Peter, kicked the living shit out of the guy and fled the country. I apologize for the cough, for the throat clearing. It just won't go away. Well, why don't you pause, Mark, and clear your throat? I will. Hold on. There, I'm back. I'm kind of worried because a guy I work with has been sick since just before Thanksgiving. And he's got that, the crud where you get sick and it's in your sinuses and in your lungs. And once it gets in your lungs, it's not COVID. He was tested. It's just the good old-fashioned chest flu. And it's there for weeks. And your voice is low like Johnny Cash and you have no energy. He has that. I do not want that. And yet, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting it. But I always do. If you listen to my podcast, I'm always like, I think I'm getting sick. I wonder if this is an allergy. Because then it gets in my head and I obsess over it and go, am I getting sick? Is this getting sick? Or is it just whatever? So we shall see. Feels like I might be getting sick, though. But whatever. Back to Richard Cole. It's sad that he died. He was a wealth of information. He was first person. He was, he was in the inner circle. He, Peter, and the band. I don't think there was anybody else. And he had the stories, he had the data, and from what I've read from people on Facebook today, he was very, very kind and generous with Zeppelin fans and with people in general. He didn't just stop with Zeppelin. After he was not involved in the 1980 tour. I think the band and Peter sacked him, and in the hopes of him getting his shit together. And I mean, if if you were too off your face for 1979 Led Zeppelin to handle, you really were in a bad spot, because holy shit, Jimmy and Bonzo and Peter were in deep trouble. And if Richard was worse off, maybe he wasn't worse off. Maybe he had more responsibility, material responsibility, as like, make sure the sound guys are there, make sure shit's set up, make sure the trucks are loaded, make sure everybody knows what they're doing, as opposed to just show up and play or count the money. Demonet. But in any case, he was released by the band right after Nebworth, and if I recall correctly, ended up in jail in Italy on some trumped up bullshit like terrorism charges. Like they thought he was responsible for some bombing. And he got clean in jail. He was actually in prison when Bonzo died, and got out and at some point got his shit together and managed other bands, helped other artists. And from what Dave Lewis said, he also got very active in AA. Bless him for that. Good. And was, I guess, an all-around guy. I guess he didn't come out of Zeppelin with money, which was something I think he was resentful of a little, which I don't blame him. And again, this may have been Addict Richard Cole talking, because I think it was in the Hammer of the Gods where he was complaining about that. Like everybody came out of it with money except him. He just got paid as an employee, and it was like, all right, see you later, buddy. I don't know. There was some sort of reconciliation, or at least acknowledgement that, okay, maybe on occasion we did get a little out of our heads, because he was at the O2 reunion, which was in '07. So I hope there was some rapprochement with the band. Robert today put out a statement that was, it was interesting. He said no, he won't be able to. We'll miss his tall tales, or there'll be no more tall tales. And I don't know. Maybe Richard really did make shit up, but I don't see. He didn't need to. There's enough stuff that's verified to have happened from multiple sources that you didn't need to make up stories about Led Zeppelin. But in any case, the circle grows smaller. There's one less light. There's one less source of information. There's one less person who was there. And it's sad. So, take a moment to remember Richard Cole. And if it weren't for him, I truly wonder how many Led Zeppelin biographies would be out now, how interesting they would be, and how long it would take before that seal was broken and a more honest history of the band came out. Barney Hoskins? Yeah, I think that's his name. His book is fantastic, and it's nothing but interview quotes from people who were there, people who worked at Swan Song, people who managed, people who did this. That might have been the first thing that actually broke through the Led Zeppelin mystique. And that's a good 20 years at least after Hammer of the Gods. So Richard Cole, he was a road manager. He was road manager for the Yardbirds. He was the road manager for the New Vaudeville Band. He left in '74 when the band were not active on the road, and managed Clapton on Clapton's comeback tour after he got off heroin and was coming back. So he's a huge luminary in rock history, and he is like Andy Adams, maybe, and even more so because he's first person experiencer. We lost a lot. We lost a great deal, and may he rest in peace. Sounds like he was a very sweet guy, and Dave Lewis had talked to him not too long ago about the Evening in Led Zeppelin book that he had written and revised. Richard wrote the foreword to that, the first edition, and as Dave said today, he would also call Dave and make corrections. Like, that's not what happened that night, that happened this night. And Dave would defer to him because, as he said, he was there. Now, who knows? Memory is, Jimmy's memory is not spot on, because who the fuck can remember what happened 47 years ago in to the day, But, all right. Enough about that. Rest in peace, Richard Cole. It is grim news. It is grim news. But in better news, those little scallywags over at the Dogs of Doom have unearthed and released an improved source for the legendarily recorded and videotaped and hoarded Pontiac 1977, April 30th, giant in the dome, the Superdome, or whatever they called it. 70,000 people inside seeing Led Zeppelin. Holy mackerel. There was a video system in place, just like Seattle, and the videos do exist. They're hoarded tightly, and if you go over to Royal Orleans, you'll see the bullshit of people who are like making the typical allusions to having seen it or having possession of it, and the people losing their minds calling bullshit. The people are speculating about it and going, well, if they did have it, it would be on pneumatic tape. And someone replies, it isn't. Something like that. In any case, this is not about the video. The video will come out at one point or another, I'm sure. This is a much better show than Seattle. This is kind of in line with the Cleveland shows. It's not quite as high watermark as the last show, the 28th in Cleveland. But it is pretty awesome, and there's some pretty good stuff, and the sound is much improved. That doesn't mean it's great, but it is much improved, and it is worthy of bringing up here, because a lot of you guys who listen are, of course, Zeppelin fans and Zeppelin Live fans who know their shit, but you may not know that this is out. So you're like, Pontiac, ugh. But no, it's better. I don't know. They don't know. Dogs of Doom doesn't know the generation, but it is better than the standard second generation source that has been out forever. So I don't know if it's a better transfer, higher gen of the original. I don't know if it's from the master. I don't know if it's first gen. I don't know nothing other than it's a good show that is in better quality, and we're going to hear some of it. We're not going to hear a whole lot of it. Usually I play 3 songs, but this is 77. If I play 3 songs, it's going to be like a month-long podcast. I'm not Dan Carlin. I can't do that. So we're going to play 2 songs, but they're going to be good, and they're going to be long. We got, first of all, you know what? First of all, let's just jump into it, shall we? No Quarter. And then while you're listening to 26 minutes of No Quarter, I'm going to bring up the set list and the notes and give proper credit to the Liberator. I think it was Lurker. I'm not quite sure, but I don't want to mistake, because I'm usually wrong when I pull it out of my ass and try to remember. So, listen to No Quarter, friends. Jonesy, of course, is great. There's some great blues, some great boogie woogie, some great stuff. It's 77 No Quarter. It's good stuff. So listen, enjoy, and I'll be back in half an hour.
every step. It still drives back the footsteps of events over the last 2 years, we were unable to play live on the road. And when we started rehearsing just before last Christmas, we thought we'd go back and look at some of the albums that we've done in the past and attempt some of the songs that I haven't finished what I was saying, hang on a tick. We thought we'd attempt some of the numbers that in the past we never missed to. Now, this is
Well, that was fucking awesome. I think we can all agree that that was really, really good. And I think those in the know can also agree that that is a much better source. Much more listenable, much less bombastic and distant. You can still hear the enormity of the venue and the audience being, louder than Zepp in ways because there's so many of them. But that was really, really great. I loved Jimmy's playing when they came in for the blues rock boogie woogie stuff. Loved it. I loved it. I hope you did too. That was a top-notch No Quarter. And I think I think I have nothing to say after that. That was a top-notch no quarter. I thought I had something to say, and I had just a... You ever have that where it's just like just a flat spot? There's nothing there. That's what happened. I was talking, and there was nothing to say. Everything fell apart. It was great. Hope you loved it. It was courtesy of Lurker, also known as Zepphead315, also known as the fellow who has the Led Zeppelin Boots YouTube channel, who posted this and made this available. It is an upgrade. So if you want to hear this to your heart's content, you can go to his YouTube channel, look up Led Zeppelin Boots. First of all, that's a great resource because he has a trillion boots, always the best quality available, always friendly, service with a smile, and avail yourself of that resource. Man. I will also have this available on my website. I am ridiculously behind on posting them, and I just cannot get my shit together. Although I'm going to be taking some time off, hopefully, maybe between Christmas and New Year's. I have a replacement for my assistant at work. I'm in the process of training them. They're getting it real quick, but it's not to the point where I can actually leave at my regular time yet. They're not quite ready to have the training wheels taken off and fly solo. There's a lot to the job, even though it's not a glamorous job, but there's a lot they need to know and a lot of shit. Well, you know how it is when you're training someone for a job. And if I were to leave at my regular time, it would be a disaster. And every situation that came up would be one of those exceptions to the rules that they were taught. So soon I'll have more free time. Soon I'll catch up on stuff. And soon I will get my shit together even more. Plus the holidays. And I also realize I'm spending a lot more time. I'm spending every weekend with my family now. It's really nice. Myself, the ex, my daughter, their dog, their kitty cats. It is great. It has just been every weekend for a while, and I think it's going to keep going that way because it's nothing but good vibes and harmonious feelings, and everybody enjoys it. Everybody's happier, but it means that I don't sit around all weekend working on podcast stuff because I'm with my family. But I will get a podcast out this weekend on Sunday because I have a really, really nice Page Plant show I want to get out from end of November 1998, one of the last Page Plant shows. And if you know, the 98 tour is smoking as far as Jimmy's playing. His playing is insanely good. And it only got better as the tour went on. And I want to share that with you. So I will do that this weekend. And what else? Yes! You can find me on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube under the nom de plume, Heart of Markness. So please, if you're on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. Unless you're fucking crazy. There are some crazies out there. But I will happily follow you back. Facebook, there's a nice Facebook group with between 150 and 200 folks in it. Good folks, upstanding folks. And that's a nice place to hang out and talk music and talk Zepp with like-minded people. Everybody's really nice. You're on Facebook. Demographically, you are absolutely on Facebook because you're at least Generation X, if not a boomer. So, yeah, if I know there's a million Zeppelin places to hang out or to share stuff, but the Heart of Markness is, although I'm not that active on it myself, I guess I should be. I'm just not a rah-rah. How's everybody doing today? So, what's your favorite song off of Zeppelin 4? I'm not much for the icebreaker, get the conversation started, but I did set up a nice space that is pretty chill. And you can talk amongst yourselves, and I'm there every day, curating and responding. And of course, there is YouTube, where all my Led Zeppelin podcasts are stored, as well as everywhere else where you can hear this podcast. But if you want to hear it on YouTube, you can do that too. Another vector. Victor. What else? Yes, if you like what I do and you like how I do it, you may consider becoming a patron of this podcast. And you get a podcast to yourself every month, as well as access to my glamorous and glorious cloud drive, on which all the shows you've heard are stored, as well as a bunch of stuff that you haven't heard. Because it's my live music podcast. So there's a bunch of stuff up there that you just haven't heard. You would have access to it, whereas the unwashed masses, the plebs, do not, which makes you, in some ways, better than them. And you also get your name read, unless you tell me not to. And so I offer, these are the titans upon whose shoulders rests this mighty podcast. And a laurel and hearty handshake go out to Andrew, Philip, Picard, Kneggern, Jeff, Chris, Rob from Melbourne, Australia, I know, Wayne, Brad, Danielle, Tracy, David, almost Saint David, David H. You're making it to Saint Davidhood. Other David, Bonzo, Billy, and Mimo. Everybody, thank you very, very much for your patronage, for your support. It is materially significant. Keeps the lights on in the podcast, so to speak. Covers the hosting and the more hosting. As well as things like this microphone through which I'm speaking to you. Thank you, Jeremy, for that one. All right. I'm uncomfortable talking like that. Let's jump back. Oh, yeah, heartofmarkness.com. The site at which I am behind at posting, but ideally, in a perfect world, every show that we cover would have the download link on that heartofmarkness.com. So you'd be able to get, at some point soon, when I get my shit together, you'll be able to get this entire show if you'd like. I'm sure Led Zeppelin Boots on the YouTube has a link up there as well. He usually does for a week or so. So if you want it pronto, jump over there to YouTube. I'm sure he has a mega link for it. If he doesn't, just slow your roll and wait for me to get caught up, man. And I thought I had more notes for you, but I don't. The set list is a standard 77 set list. You know, nothing crazy, nothing out of the ordinary. This is a standard 77 set list, and it's a great show. And what makes it even greater is that, you know, although it's been available, it's a better sound, and they're so good at that, teasing out these better sources, because it gives new life. This is not a show that I've listened to, because the first time I heard it, I'm like, yikes, no thank you. But now, no, this is perfectly listenable. I would say, you know, it's very good, or very good minus in places. And it was perfectly great for No Quarter. You could hear everything. And yeah, bless these guys. For real. Kudos to Dogs of Doom. I wish I was a more social animal and not so introverted and, I don't know, insecure, self-doubting, self-sabotaging. Because I would love to jump in and be part of this, but it's just, I don't know. I'm the guy. That's me in the corner. I'm the guy in the corner with the drink, just bopping his head softly to the music and hoping no one talks to them. Until I get engaged with somebody conversationally, in which case I can't shut up. So, Dogs of Doom, thank you. God's work. There's more and more stuff coming out. And not only do they have an upgrade to this Pontiac, Michigan show, they also came up with, how many? 219 never before seen images from the Silverdome. That's correct. Beautiful black and white photos. They liberated those as well. I don't know what they did. Maybe they bought them off eBay. I don't remember. I saw something about that. But basically, they're doers. They get shit done. And it's really impressive. And they're not all college kids. There's even some boomers. Not boomers. Fuck. Libeled myself. Gen Xers, my age, who are involved in this. It's really a beautiful community. And And they have done invaluable work. If they did nothing else from this point forward, if they did nothing else other than Badge Holders Blues, they would have earned their place in the Pantheon. But they just keep chugging along, finding stuff, improving stuff, merging, remastering, finding better sources, finding better generations, finding photos, finding more video, transferring old 8mm that have been on YouTube forever with better equipment to get better transfers that look fucking great. Dogs of Doom, bless them. I'm so happy they reached out to me back in the day. And I'm so happy to be able to have access to this. Thank you, everybody on Dogs of Doom. All right. I went way off the rails and started rambling. What are we going to do now? What we're going to do now is we're going to listen to Achilles' Last Stand, because it is a corker. It is not as clear and transparently audible as No Quarter, because it's much more bombastic. So there's a lot more sound coming out of them. So there's not quite the clarity and instrument separation that we had in No Quarter. But it's a rousing, rollicking version of Achilles' Last Stand. And what the fuck? It's good, right? Led Zeppelin. So let's hear this from the Mighty Arms of Atlas.
Achilles once Pontiac Silverdome. So it seems to work after all. The old machine plugs on, yeah? Well, that's a little sort of machine.
Nice. Bonzo seemed a little restrained in that one. I mean, excellent, but nothing like the manic, crazy LA fills. Loved it. Loved it. Love this show. Gonna listen to it more. Thank you very much, Lurker, for liberating this and posting this. And everybody else involved with making this happen. Thank you so much. Also, something I wanted to lead with before the sad news of Richard Cole superseded is Robert Plant and Alison Krauss's album, Raise the Roof. I like better than Raising Sand. And even if you're like, I don't really like that shit, there's some good stuff on that album, including Searching for My Love, which has been in my head for days. Such a pretty song. Such a pretty song. Allison's perfect voice, harmonizing with Robert, who also has to be perfect to harmonize. So good. No, 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 no. It's heaven. I really enjoy it. If you haven't heard it, jump up on Spotify or whatever and give it a listen. The opening song, Quattro, is excellent. But Searching for My Love, oh boy. Great for headphones, great for a good system. Don't just listen to it like through your phone or on computer speakers necessarily, because on headphones especially, you need to hear Allison's voice in your ear right next to you on the left-hand side, just singing beautiful, beautiful harmony to Robert's beautiful, beautiful voice. He gets some low end in there, which he ordinarily doesn't really do. It's Searching for the One That I Adore, I think is one of them. Drops down. Love it. Man. All right. Thank you for listening. Oh, we broke an hour. We haven't done that in a while. All right, friendos. I will be back, like I said, this weekend with the Page Plant Show, unless something else catches my eye. You know how I am with shiny things. And if it is, something else will be this weekend, and Page Plant will be next Thursday. You know how I do. Please be good to yourselves and each other. And thank you. Trying to find the off button. There we go.